All right, we're back. This time, Maria and I are joined by Andre, who's joining us from formerly the Neon team, but now the Lakebase team. And Lakebase is, if you haven't heard about it yet at Summit, it's one of the most important products we're working on at Databricks, and it's something we're super excited about. So, Andre, would you mind introducing yourself a little bit and like what your role at Databricks is and how you've been working with Lakebase?
Yeah, absolutely. So I joined Neon a few months before the acquisition as a developer advocate.
Yeah.
And then through the acquisition, I joined the advocacy team here at Databricks. And I've been mostly focused on the developer audience, so anybody who's building on the Databricks platform. That's who we try to create content for. And then, so at last Summit, I think Lakebase was really introduced, and now it's the second Summit. In the first Summit, I have to work for Databricks. Last time we were just almost still guests,
How
right?
do you find
attending.
that side of the?
Yeah.
It's more work.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's incredible, the scale here, obviously. The scale of the keynote and everything is still mind-blowing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Excellent.
Then can you introduce a bit Lakebase then,
Absolutely.
and why,
Yeah.
I guess, Postgres on Databricks versus not?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best thing about Lakebase is that it's just Postgres. So if you're building an application, you would still just use that database connection string, plug it into your application, it speaks Postgres, it is 100% Postgres compatible. And any of the extensions that you like from Postgres, like pgvector, you can just use them with Lakebase as well. So that's a great thing for the application. The problem with Postgres is, though, it's a very old platform, and it's very popular, and what's great about it is it's open source. The problem is, though, it's not really set up for success in a modern dev environment, just because it's a long-running server, it's very heavy. And so what we did is we split storage and compute and create a serverless architecture. If you're using it, you don't really have to care about it, right? In the end of the day, it's still Postgres, but behind the scenes, we really changed how it works, and that enabled us to do some really great things. Most importantly, auto-scaling and branching, which really enables this amazing developer experience.
Yeah, so how is, if you're a developer, how has your experience or how has your workflow changed?
Yes.
Because now you have the separation of compute and storage. What can you do today that maybe you couldn't have done before?
Yeah, absolutely. So historically, what you would do when you're developing against the database, right? You would probably set up Docker locally, run your Postgres database locally, and then you run into sync issues, right? The seed data doesn't work anymore because someone changed it, and they're sure, today coding agents can fix that real quick and massage it. But it's way cooler if your platform just has those primitives for you, and you can just leverage them. And the biggest primitive that we offer there is branching. So that is just a way for you to instantly copy.
So branching I would with Git or something like that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's exactly like Git. The problem is, though, you can't merge back, so you still have to apply the same migrations to your production branch after the fact. But yes, every time, so in my agents.md file, my coding agents, I tell them to first create a Git branch, and every time you create a feature branch, also create a Neon database branch or a Lakebase database branch.
Oh, excellent.
And the amazing thing about that is that it is both copying the schema and the data of your database.
Nice.
But it's copy and write. So even if you have a very big database, it still does that almost instantly.
And then why this branching is actually really relevant on this agentic era where I guess agents create
Yes.
databases as well.
So initially we built branching for developers, right?
Yeah.
We just wanted to make that development workflow much easier and nicer. But turns out if you have a great developer experience, that usually translates into a really good agent experience as well. So if you give each agent an isolated database branch, right? They can't mess up the production database, they can experiment stuff, and then afterwards you review the changes, and then you decide if you want to promote it, right? The same way you would do that in Git as well.
Oh, excellent. And then, one of the things that's novel is the separation of compute and storage.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I thought was really interesting whenever we first started working with you was there's the sheer speed at which you can do pretty much any operation on Lakebase. It's almost instantaneous, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, yeah, if you're used to other Postgres platforms and you create a new instance, it may take minutes until that is done. Which if you create your first project, sure, you can go grab a coffee, but let's say something bad happens, right? You have an outage, you want to test, you need to quickly spin up a new environment to see what happened. Then 5 minutes feels like a very long time, or 15 minutes longer, right? And what's really great about the Neon platform or the Lakebase platform is that the compute and storage work separately from each other. So if you spin up, we already have compute running, and then if you want to assign a new Postgres instance to that, right? It takes less than a second to spin that up.
So if it takes less than a second to spin it up, that means could you, for auto scaling, does that mean it's equally fast? And like if can you scale all the way down to 0?
Yeah. So absolutely. So auto scaling and then scaling to 0 is like kind of an edge case of auto scaling. So we detect how much traffic there is on your database. Let's say you run PG Vector and you do some semantic search, right? And like it's just a little bit more compute intensive. We detect that and we scale up your compute. But let's say you have a dev branch or you have a branch for your agent and the agent is just not working anymore. Then you don't really need that compute to be running, right? And that's exactly where scale to 0 would come in. We always say like scaling to 0 is easy, but scaling back up is the hard part, right? Scaling is, to 0 is great for cost performance, but then once you come back and you want to work, you also don't want to wait 5 minutes, right? You want to wait less than a second. So creation of a database and spinning up or like waking up a database is almost the same action for us. So it's like both of the times less than a second.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so we spoke about how we can use actually branching when we build with agents, right?
Yes.
But how can we use Lakebase for memory for agents?
Yes, great question. So there's like 2 types of agent use cases for Lakebase, I would say. The first one is you have a coding agent that I use to build my application. And that agent builds my app and then provisions my database for me, manages the database for me, right? And we have those code-gen platforms like Replit, where that is also happening somewhere in the cloud and they're using Lakebase behind the scenes. But then there's this other use case where you want to use Postgres or Lakebase as the database that your agent uses for its own state and memory. And there, obviously, PG Vector is very important, right? You want to be able to use semantic search, so you don't have to do like a full text search through your data.
Right.
So that's really important. And then generally, Postgres has just become kind of the default for agent memory in a lot of places. Again, and since Lakebase is just Postgres, anything you would do with any other Lakebase definitely also works.
Because PG Vector is like a Postgres plugin, right?
Yes, it's an extension, yeah.
So you could do any extension on Postgres?
Yeah, so yes and no. So because Lakebase is compatible with Postgres, we can make every extension work, and we already support like a vast majority of them. But every extension we add is something we have to maintain and make available in the platform, so you can like install it, right? So like for us, it's always like a choice: do people want this?
So if like the most common ones,
yes,
those are the obvious
ones. Or
ones.
if you're a customer, you ask us, right? Like we have to evaluate and then.
Excellent.
And then you're out there in the community a lot, talking to a lot of developers, and this is actually the persona we're trying to target as well. So what are the most funny, popular misconceptions you heard about Lakebase as a product for them and then for AI?
Yeah, so like serverless Postgres, which is also how we call Lakebase, right? It's like definitely a new concept.
Yes.
And I mean, in the Databricks world, there's a lot of things that are serverless. We just announced serverless GPUs, right? So there's a lot of serverless things here. But like outside of the Databricks world for app developers, the only thing that is really serverless is like Lambda functions, right? So like, and they behave very differently from a serverless database. So there's a lot of misconceptions there, right? Like we don't run like parallel databases. It's still one compute, right? Talking to a multi-tenant system of storage. That's like one thing that people kind of get wrong. And then the other thing is, yes, we support scale to 0. And yes, that is very great for dev environments, but it doesn't mean you have to scale to 0. So it's a configuration setting that you can disable. Like for a lot of production use cases and scenarios, you actually want to have like an instant connection, even if there was like a little bit of a, no time without a connection. For like bursty use cases or like an e-commerce store, right? You don't want to scale that to 0 at all.
And
Go ahead.
So I just want to ask, and what is the message we need to learn to all of the developers who are building apps in other systems to bring them to Lakebase, Because people who are listening to us maybe are more data practitioners, ML practitioners, and etc. This is a new group of people. What's the message we need to transfer to them?
Yeah, absolutely. So building has never been easier, right? Like it's insane how, like, I'm about to build an internal tool to manage my internal tools because I have so many internal tools. And like, each of them needs their own database, right? So it has never been easier to build apps, but apps and even specifically agentic apps, they're really not that powerful without access to data, right? So the main problem is still like, how do I get all my company data or the one that I need into my application? And that is really hard if you have different separate systems. And it gets so much easier if there's just a button or one CLI command that you can call to sync the data from one space to another, right? And through the keynotes, we saw a lot of exciting announcements, even how we can make that split even more seamless. So that is like the core message is like, if you want to build apps and agents, they need access to data. So it makes a ton of sense for those apps and agents to be in the same environment and platform then as your data.
You bring up a good point, though, because a lot of times you're using a database like Postgres as the backing store for like an application, but you want to do like downstream analytics from that. And historically, you're building these ETLs to move the data from the database to something like Delta Lake, so that way you can run the analytics on it, but you're not like trying to run those same analytics, which is a heavy load on the database itself. And so Lakebase has kind of simplified this whole process, right?
100%, You get rid of your custom sinks, right? So like, one great example for that is our customer, Superhuman, who did exactly that. So they got rid of all their custom sync stuff and replaced it with a Lakebase and Databricks apps setup.
What is the, how much complexity does this actually solve, right?
I would say a ton.
Yes?
Like, what do people say about like what's hard in computer science? It's like caching, naming things. I would add syncing, like syncing stuff, like consistently without issues is definitely in the top 3, top 4 problems for sure.
Bravo, nice, excellent.
What are some of the things that we haven't talked about that you feel like
for sure.
The one thing that people shouldn't miss when they're leaving this talk? So.
Yeah, so I feel like historically, people, especially in like data teams, right? Like they look at notebooks as a solution or dashboards as a solution to represent their data. I would make the pitch now that you have like Cloud Code, and we just announced a Genie app builder, right? Like you have all of these great tools to build applications. We have a partnership with Replit. It has never been easier to just build an app instead of a dashboard, right? And what an app allows you to do is just like the second you want to give that to a different team, it's just a URL. And then the second they want to do something with it, like you don't just look at the data, you can write to the data as well, right? And then Lakebase comes in again as the data store that powers that behind the scenes for the like CRUD operations. And then from there, the data team can use that data again, sync it back into the lake, use it for another set of analytics or another pipeline. And it's just like, it closes the gap for me because analyzing data is fun, but you really want to operationalize it, right? And that's where Lakebase comes in.
For me, it's not really relevant to Lakebase, but one of the most fun applications I've seen from business users is actually slides building.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
On apps.
Oh, okay.
Right? Instead of having your slides, you go on a Databricks app and you just have your HTML page.
I've done that before too.
Looks so much better.
Yep, 100%.
I work a lot with BuiltOn customers, and some of them are experimenting with like basically creating a separate database for every customer tenant. And then that's beneficial because, I mean, one, it's an easy way to isolate things, but two, you rarely have all of your customers using your application all the time, and so for some, there's going to be a lot of lumpy access, and so the ones that aren't using anything, they can scale to 0, and the other ones can scale up. And because you've isolated the data to one database, you don't have to do big scans every time you run a query. So
100%. So like multi-tenant scenario or like use case like that are super exciting to us. And I think they get really enabled by the auto-scaling architecture that we created, right? Because so basically anything that you can do in the Lakebase UI, you can also do through our APIs. So you can programmatically spin up new databases for your customers and then like run your seed migrations on top of it, like create the schema and delete them again, transfer them from one account to another account. Like all of that works really like autonomously. Or you can do it through the APIs, right? And that's really important for these kind of use cases.
Excellent.
Cool. Last question from my side is, can you explain a little bit the DevRel role? What does this actually mean? And what
Being a DevRel? I feel like you could go to any company and ask a DevRel what they do, and they would all give you very different answers, right? Like, I'm a content creator. Like, no, I write docs. No, I'm responsible for writing and authoring the SDKs, right? Like any DevRel would tell you something differently. And that's the exciting thing about the job, right? Like it's very diverse. So here at Databricks, we say it's like all about the community, right? Like where someone who is in field would probably talk to one customer one-on-one, we try to broadcast, right? And that can mean a lot of things. Some people like Holly and Nick are really great on our team and doing like podcasts and YouTube videos. And then I am located here in the Bay Area, so I do a lot of meetups. I go to conferences. I speak to developers and give like meetup talks and that kind of stuff. We create examples and anything the community needs for us.
Amazing.
Excellent. Cool. Well, we got like about 1 minute left. So if you had to have any parting words for the audience today, like what would you want to leave them with for Lakebase?
Absolutely. Shameless plugs allowed?
Yeah, of course.
We just launched developers.databricks.com,
Nice.
which is a new site for builders. If you want to build on Databricks with Lakebase, with Databricks apps, it's like the one-stop shop for you. If you go on the landing page, the first thing you see is like a copy prompt button.
Yep.
Okay.
Click that, paste it into your coding agent of choice, and from there it will take care of building your first app for you.
That's
App
awesome.
and Lakebase instance behind the scenes?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Lakebase by default.
Yep.
I'd love to hear.
By default, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Andre, for joining us. I really appreciate it.